Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Hello APGD, a neighborhood podcast about the Audubon Park Garden District in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Michael Lothrop, and today we'll be speaking with Liz and Dave Kazik, owners of Dear Prudence Shop, located at 2912 Corinne Drive. If you can't make it into the shop, you can visit them online at dearprudenceshop.com or on Instagram at Dear Prudence Orlando. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or like to be a sponsor, please feel free to message me on Instagram at HelloAPGDPod. Thank you for listening. I'm joined today by Liz and Dave Kazik of Dear Prudence and the Bead Lounge. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. It's nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you too.
So with Dear Prudence, clearly the first thing people notice is the name of your shop. And assuming that's from the title of a Beatles song?
Well, yes.
Okay. Tell me more.
Okay. A lot of people assume that that's my name. And
okay.
then,
Interesting.
So it's sort of like a conversation starter. I correct them and say, no, there's no Prudence. And then they say, oh, did you name it after the Beatles song? And in part, yes, because I love the Beatles and I love that song. But there were many reasons why I thought of Dear Prudence when I went to rename the boutique, because we were a bead store. We're not a bead store anymore.
That'll be fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
We have some remnants of beads and parts and things like that. But the name, once we moved the boutique and the beads together, because I guess I left this part out. I had a boutique next door called Sweet Boutique. And
that's right. Okay.
I wanted to start a clothing boutique and stuff like that. I did that for a couple of years, but then I merged the two together in the one store because beads were going way of the dodo, you could say. Just wasn't really a huge business anymore. So I just merged the store together and wanted to rename it. And I came up with Dear Prudence. Two reasons. I do love the song. And another reason, I'm from Australia. One of my favorite vintage stores when I was a kid, actually, in Australia, was called Dear Prudence. And it always has stuck in my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's amazing. Well, yeah. And I mean, it's a beautiful song. And, I was kind of interested in the origin of the song because it's clearly written to somebody.
Yeah.
And it's essentially about the Beatles' time in India.
Yeah.
And meditating.
That's right. Well, the song is about Mia Farrow's sister, Prudence. And when they were in India, and Prudence would not come out of her room. She was dead serious about meditating when everybody else wasn't. It was just kind of like, a fad thing to do. George Harrison was very serious about it, apparently, but the other Beatles were there just for the ride, I suppose, and along with other people. But, there was two sides of it. The serious meditating guru lovers, and then the fun-loving Beatles.
Totally, yeah. And I mean, I love the part it's about connecting with nature, about coming out, as you said, like from meditation. It's about that line, "You are part of everything." I think that's so beautiful, and it made sense to me at that point. When I kind of went back and listened to the song, like. That's the perfect name for your shop because you really are part of everything here in Audubon Park. Like you are one of the original shops and your shop is just gorgeous. I mean, I was in there earlier today and just the arrangement of everything, just like every single thing in there is thoughtfully placed, and I mean, it's just a dream to be in there.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Sometimes I go in and I get a little down thinking I really am not good at this arranging thing, but
wow.
But then I hear you and other people tell me that
everybody
I am,
probably.
so,
Yeah.
But, you're always very critical of your own, things that you do.
Sure.
Thank you. That's very nice to hear you say that.
And that's probably what makes you so good at it, because you are, critical of yourself and you're always achieving more and trying harder and, not just settling like this is good enough. I mean, it clearly, you can tell everything in there has been touched recently and is well placed. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I want to spend more time in there because it's just like a museum of cool things. And like all of these things are for sale and like your prices are great. And it's like, they're such great gifts. And
thanks, Michael.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Great praise. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. So yeah, I guess I am doing something right.
Oh, for sure. And you guys have been there now 22 years. Is that correct?
So 22 years past February.
Wow.
And so we're going on to our 23rd year.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe I'm saying that. When we rented that space 22 years ago, there wasn't really anything going on on that street or in Audubon Park. As a matter of fact, I don't think anybody called it Audubon Park back then.
Yeah.
It was just sort of Orlando,
It's
right?
true. I can't remember anyone using that term.
Yeah, because when they did
Audubon
start
Park.
calling it Audubon Park, I was a little bit confused. I thought, where's that name coming from? But
Yeah.
that it was the neighborhood. But
And it just, I mean, the knowledge of it wasn't there because there was not a lot of branding. It was just sort of
Right.
like, you know, we have streets named after birds.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I'm interested in going back and kind of researching and finding out, you know, how that name was chosen. I mean, we have a good proximity to Lou Gardens and we do have a lot of bird life here. So I would imagine that was a part of it.
I'm sure it was always not called Audubon Park. It was just never, nobody ever brought it up
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
until, I guess, the Main Street program.
Well, it's strange too because that was just the naval base,
Right.
all the homes for the Navy base,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and especially back then, that's how everyone thought of the neighborhood. It's basically the Navy base homes
Totally.
because they'd only demolished it a couple of years before we moved in, I think.
No, actually,
I mean, it was
it
around
was still the Navy base when we.
I mean,
when-
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Baldwin Park was just starting to be built when we moved in. So it
Yep.
was still, by the locals, it was considered Navy base area.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny to think about.
Yeah. And I mean, what a change. I mean, from 2000, before Baldwin Park came in and before people really knew Audubon Park, I mean, what your particular space, do you remember what that shop was before, what that space was before?
Well, right before us, it was Tudor's Antiques,
Okay.
who the owner of that store ended up moving down to the end of the plaza and starting a lamp store.
I remember
The
that.
Black Rooster.
Right.
Black Rooster,
Mhm.
right?
Not to be confused with the tacos,
Right.
right?
This is
Right.
pre-tacos.
Yeah.
So that was what was right before we moved in. But before that, we heard it was a pottery studio.
Okay.
I actually, the neighbors used to come in and tell us what our store was. It used to be a Five and Dime, and it
Right,
used to be
I
a
heard that.
pottery place, and
But the five and dime was
the first thing it was,
years
I think.
ago,
Sure.
Like, I think it originally started as a Five and Dime.
which is, it really would be good for there to be some kind of record.
Right. Right.
Like maybe we write it on the back wall
Absolutely.
every time a business goes in. So,
Yeah.
in 50 years,
Mhm.
the whole lineage. I don't know.
Somebody's got to have a story on it, like, what it was chronologically. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And that's part of doing this podcast is
Yeah.
kind of uncovering those stories and that history. And, you guys are really part of that history. You guys came into this neighborhood at a time where, it was not a destination neighborhood. It was a pass-through neighborhood,
Actually, before, in the 90s, I guess, before we even dreamed that we'd have a store there, 1701 Enterprise.
I remember that.
Yeah, that used to be
The
in that strip
sci-fi
mall.
shop.
That sci-fi shop. Now it moved over to where, I don't know where it is now. It's not anywhere now.
Is it now Sci-Fi City near?
Sci-Fi City,
Yeah.
yeah.
By Home Depot, right?
Mhm.
Oh, it's still there.
Yeah.
I didn't really even know if it was
Yeah,
still around.
that was there,
but
1701. That's funny to think.
1701.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. I mean, that, like, back from, the old times, that's really the only shop that I remember in the plaza. I mean, I was,
Yeah.
I think, too young to be interested in anything else that was there, but it's so fascinating to hear about the changes. I
Right.
mean, there was a calculator store
Oh,
in
yeah.
the plaza.
Oh, yeah. Do you
Calculator
remember that?
repair.
I don't. I somehow missed out on
That's
that.
my favorite story.
Let's hear
Let's
that.
see.
Don, the guy, his name was Don, and he had been there for, I mean, like 30 years or something.
I would imagine.
And you'd go in
yeah.
there, and it was stacked floor to ceiling with calculators that he needed to repair.
Okay.
And eventually, I had to ask him, how do you do this? Like, how
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah.
What is this business? This is incredible.
Uh-huh.
And he said that he was the only guy that fixes the calculators that they used for the NASA, for the
Wow.
space program.
Yeah. I hope he called it the NASA
Yeah.
because I like that.
The
yeah.
NASA.
It's like an older folk thing to say.
That's something my mom would say. Yeah. So, they had this specific calculator that they couldn't make because it had some kind of rare earth material
Ooh.
that they couldn't keep making it. So they had to fix them.
Yeah.
Texas Instruments. wasn't
And
it?
Don was the only guy who could do it.
Wow. I bet those calculators are worth a lot just because of the rare
Yeah.
earth
Yeah.
materials.
Probably.
Anyway.
You know?
That's
so
it.
he was not wrong to hoard all of those
Are you
broken
kidding?
calculators.
That's what you call in business a great moat.
Yeah.
You're the only guy who can do one
That's it.
job.
That's true.
So,
Well, I mean, that makes me think of a business that's still around in town, which is incredible, called Kiwi Camera Service.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's on
You
Virginia,
guys probably
right?
know
Yeah.
Michael Lavera.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they he fixes cameras that they send like from all over the world
Oh, yeah.
because he knows how to do that.
Yeah.
And like it's incredible just the amount of information that he has about cameras and what he can do with cameras. And yeah, and he has no snobbery about it either. He's just anybody who wants to take pictures, he's like absolutely on board with it. He doesn't hate digital, even though he does a lot of film stuff. And he's just very enthusiastic
Wow,
and supportive.
I didn't know it was him.
Yeah. I mean, his shop, I feel bad because I haven't been to the one on Virginia, but he has another shop in Winter Park that's, I think now just a dark room. He's kept that spot, but now he's got retail and does repairs on Virginia. So,
Interesting.
I know.
that's
So
great.
this is where you find out about those things,
Yeah.
That's right.
So, dear Prudence, you have home decor, all occasion clothing, handmade jewelry, bird print dresses, very important. Lots of pop culture and music themed gifts, sunglasses. You do jewelry repair. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Well, yeah. When we were at Bead Store, of course, I taught, I held classes on how to make jewelry. So, restringing jewelry, wire wrapping, and, kind of just fashion jewelry repair. Nothing like, fine jewelry repair. You would go to a fine jeweler store for
If
that.
it is fine jewelry, we send them in the neighborhood
Adams.
to Adams Jewelry.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we do.
See
David
that?
Adams,
Yeah.
who's a great guy and a great jeweler. And
David,
so we,
David Adams,
David
did you
Adams.
say? Yeah.
Keep it in the neighborhood.
yeah. So
Totally.
we go
That's
back
awesome.
and forth. If it's something that he doesn't do,
Mhm.
he'll send people to us. And
Wow.
if it's something that's,
Well, that goes for all the stores, really.
Sure.
We will always recommend or refer people to certain
Yeah.
places on the street
course.
before we tell them to go
yeah.
anywhere else.
I think
There's a
that's
lot going there.
Yeah, I think that's part of the magic of Audubon Park is that, there are multiple shops that carry, books and multiple shops. You guys also carry books and, multiple coffee shops, but nobody really is in competition with one another. Everybody's supportive. There's enough to go around. People have, their places that they prefer to go to. But it's kind of like you can get so much, like you can get everything here,
Yeah, and it's getting more and more like that all the time. Like
Right.
something new is popping up.
Totally.
Pretty frequently now.
Yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely.
like I say, when we first moved in, there was really nothing in that neighborhood, and a lot of stores were going in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Some older ones were closing finally after being there for years and years.
Sure.
I mean, Gift for Teaching used to be there. Remember that place?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they were really great people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember? That was a really And they did a lot of great things. Then they eventually moved. I don't know if they're still around, but
I believe they are.
they are?
I have a teacher friend that was getting supplies for them.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really great organization.
yeah, they were there, and I mean, you know, we've seen a lot. Let's put it that way. We've seen a lot come and go, and finally now staying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a little bit of everything here. I mean, it's like I most of the weekends we really do spend in the neighborhood because
Yeah, I bet.
everything is right here. You know, it's very walkable.
To eat, especially, there's tons of restaurants and cafes and things like that now. So.
Yeah, yeah, and that was not the case back in the day.
No, there wasn't anything like that. There was the diner, which was Roger's Diner,
Right.
which turned into Junior's Diner.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the only place to get food.
Do you guys have some favorite spots that you like to eat?
Well, I do love Piers for Pie. And I like all the places, actually, in the neighborhood. We've tried them all, but don't really get to
We do a lot of peas for
frequent
pie.
them. But
Yeah.
I have I love their coffee. They use Stumptown coffee from Portland, and
Yeah.
I love that coffee.
And it's really good coffee. I mean, we're coffee rich
Yeah?
in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I adore Lineage. I go to Stardust a lot. They've got Dancing Goats from Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Stardust
And,
coffee is very good. Yes.
and I mean, Bikes, Beans, and Bordeaux has great coffee. You really you know, you can't go wrong. But yeah, the Stumptown coffee is really good.
It's delicious. I used to go to Bluebird when they were there, but, you know, there wasn't anybody else. I mean, yeah, there was a few people, but, you know, like I say, Piers Pie is pretty handy for me. I just go down the strip mall, but
Yeah. And it's just always good too.
that's
It's
always good.
It's a treat.
Yeah. I and they're nice people.
And soon we'll have food at Red Light too.
I hear
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our
Yeah.
friend Jess Tantalo is
Yeah.
going to be the chef there. So
As if that place couldn't get any better.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Then
I
they
know.
go and add Jess to cook. So
Yeah. And I mean, I love what they've been doing with the rotating food truck selection.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great
Yeah.
option. And
it's
Excellent.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, you know, when food trucks were becoming popular, some of the restaurants were concerned because they might be taking some of their business. But, you know, what people really have found is that there are enough customers
Oh,
to
no.
go around, right? It's like,
Plenty.
Yeah.
And they're all doing very well. And they're all very good.
great. I think when it comes to food, for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
consumables.
and there's a new one
yeah.
going in.
There is. That's right. Yeah. I can't remember the name of it right now, but
Foreigner.
Foreigner.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's exciting.
yeah, I don't know when they open, but it's great that they're having a fancy place like that in our strip mall too. So
Yep.
Yeah.
that should help.
Should.
Yep. We're getting closer and closer to being complete. Just having all of
Yeah.
the things, right?
Yeah.
And I love, you know, I think that with Mother's Day, I mean, this unfortunately will come out after Mother's Day, but but it's like your shop is definitely a place that I think of when I'm like, I want to get a gift for somebody who cares to get something nice, and you know, it's like just everything in your shop is like,
Oh, thank you.
it's
Wow.
kind of cool, and it makes me feel cool to be in there. So,
Oh, well, that's
Thank you,
really
Michael.
nice.
yeah.
And you know, Mom always has a birthday.
Oh, yes.
That's true. Mom does
So-
always have a bird. And also, you don't need an occasion to give a gift.
You don't.
No, you don't.
So I kind of like gifts that, you know, don't feel forced because there's an event. You know what I mean? It's like, I think a surprise gift is like one of the best things that you can do.
Yeah, little appreciation gift.
Yep.
Right?
I like your style.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's maybe more memorable then because there's no pressure. And, you know, I don't know.
Good.
Trying to start this trend.
Agreed. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No holiday gift giving. I mean, but also holiday gift giving.
Yeah.
Just give all the
Just
time.
give
all the
yeah,
time.
all the time. And you guys have a lot of cute animal themed merchandise in your store as well.
I do. That's because I love that. I think stuff like that is just so fun. And so do my customers. But, you know, if I can just touch on the pandemic, since that began,
Yeah.
people haven't been buying clothes too much because they're not going anywhere, or they weren't anyway.
Right.
I think they're starting to get back out there.
Yes.
But they would come in, and if they came in, and tell me that, well, they're in their pajamas or activewear all day long, or they might need a top because they're on a Zoom meeting or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So tops were huge for a bit. But the clothing thing did slow down dramatically. I noticed that. Jewelry, not so much. That has always been a big seller because people were always, they could always wear a pair of nice earrings and get on a Zoom call.
Yeah, you have to accessorize when you're wearing sweatpants,
yeah,
too.
It's true. I know.
mean,
I didn't even think of that until they told me that.
Right? I know.
Yeah, you're
I know. I've
absolutely
heard that
right.
on the news about like how fashion is changing.
Yeah.
And you just don't think of those kind of effects that people aren't,
It's big. I didn't buy anything new in clothing. That's not where I was putting any of my money. I was buying all kinds of components to make jewelry or other things other than clothing. Yes, that was fine. But clothing, no, absolutely not. So on that note, I just want to say that I am sort of low on the animal-themed clothing because I haven't been buying anything.
Sure.
But I'm getting back to it now.
But quite a bit of animal-themed jewelry I noticed too,
sure.
which is really cool.
We have a good amount of cat stuff, though.
I love it. Yeah.
So if there's one animal we never skimp on, it's getting cat stuff.
People can't resist a cat T-shirt or a
some
cat
great cat tops and
absolutely
cat earrings or
that's right.
Lots
of
even
cat
cat
stuff.
beds, macrame.
We even have a cat
beds.
bed.
Yeah, and I think that it's like therapeutic to shop and to wear, cat outfits and things like that too. I mean, it's like that.
Yeah.
That just will make you feel good. You should do it.
Right.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah. Right.
Conversation pieces for sure.
I know. Yeah.
And with cats, you don't have to worry about what breed they are or anything. A cat is a cat. Is a cat. I mean, I know people have different cats and all, but when it comes to dogs, you got to have their dog.
Cats will never go out of style.
No.
It's like certain dogs have their time in the spotlight, but cats, no matter what, it's just like there's always going to be cats and they're always going to be popular.
And there's always going to be funny cat videos. Until that stops, there's, no end to cat merchandise. Trust me.
It's really true. It's really true. And you guys obviously have an affinity for animals and for nature. And so that is clearly like a theme. You have a lot of stones and minerals and things like that you incorporate into that.
Oh, yeah, it's irresistible. I love the stone stuff. And I'm really glad. I mean, I've always been using them. I've been using stones and all for as long as I've been making jewelry, which is definitely more than 30 years now. So, but because it's so... I don't know what the word, they're trending so much.
Yeah.
They're popular. So I get to do it more and more. And I love that, because stones are really, really interesting.
They are. Yeah. And timeless also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
they
are gems. Some
right.
of them are gemstones that fine jewelers put in a fancy setting. It might look different, all faceted and polished and shiny and translucent, but an amethyst is an amethyst. Rough or faceted and clear,
Yeah, and I mean, some of those things have been around for
millions of years.
Right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what people don't always stop to think about and realize. And when I was in your shop, I was looking at like the bead selection, and people probably don't understand when you say beads, these aren't like Mardi Gras beads. These are like really beautifully made, like handmade beads, correct?
Yes. They are definitely handmade. Somebody is making them and hand drilling them, because you can't just put a stone like that through a drilling procedure without doing it by hand, I mean, somebody has to monitor that because they'll break, They're precious, semi-precious, precious.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful stuff. So do you still do the events where people like rent a table and they do the bead salons?
No.
Probably not with the pandemic, right?
Oh, no, I actually stopped that right before the pandemic. Anyway, like I said, the bead business kind of slowed down a lot, really slowed down. A lot of bead stores in the Orlando area closed down. It just was it was a hobby that people dropped, I suppose. It might pick up again, but Oh, I'll tell you, the craft stores killed the bead business, though, when they introduced
right.
their bead sections. If back in the day, maybe, I don't know, more than 10 years ago, if you walked into a Joann's or a Michael's, you wouldn't see a bead section. They sort of jumped on it once the whole bead thing became a
Isn't
craze.
that unfortunate? I know.
Yeah.
I mean, so many box stores have killed, boutique shops and smaller shops like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just think it's so important to support the small shops that are still doing it, because, that temptation to go to these box stores is there, but like, you're not going to get the quality and care that you'll get at your shop.
And that was the hard thing for people to understand, is that they see, a bead section pop up in Michael's and they think that it's the same thing.
Right.
And if you try to explain that, you end up sounding like it's a sales pitch.
Sure.
Or you're bitter about it,
Sure.
So,
but how it's made is important. Where it came from is
that's
important.
right. Or the quality,
Right.
What it actually is, and
how to use
if it is actually what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Because there's a lot of questions like that sometimes in the jewelry business. So,
Sure.
we were trying to provide really good, high quality, and we still do. Everything's the real deal. It's really high quality. Everything's, lead-free, nickel-free. You never have any kind of allergic reaction to what we sell.
That's true.
It is the good stuff. So, and it's reasonably priced, but
It really is.
if you could go to Michael's with a 60% off coupon,
You get what you pay for, though.
that's right.
Right? I mean,
But like I said,
truly.
it was hard to communicate that to people, and I think,
Of course.
so we don't really try. We just kind of exist on the quality of what we sell, and I think the people who are our customers appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And, introducing the stones and the rocks and the minerals and all that helped us stay a little bit in the bead business.
Mm-hmm.
But, just calling it a bead business, people might automatically think, they don't think of the stone side of it. They think of little
Mardi Gras
fun
beads.
Mardi Gras beads.
Right. I mean, that's what I envision when I hear beads, because I just am not familiar with the quality of beads that you have.
Well, we're getting we're getting pickier about it, what we buy to sell, because we want it to be something somebody's actually looking for,
Right.
and has some meaning behind it, or is just a specialty, like something you can't find in a craft store.
And that's smart business. I mean, that is how, brick and mortar retail thrives or survives. Like all of these external, forces, these box stores and online shopping. It's like people that care about what they're buying. They want to know who they're buying it from. And they want that experience of like, help me pick this out. This is, for myself or for somebody else. And, you have that knowledge and that, that experience of picking those things, and you have great taste, and it's very clear when you walk in there, and like that sells itself to me, and I think that people that go in there and your repeat customers know that, and they appreciate that, and that's really what keeps that relationship going.
Well, thanks. I hope so. I make all the jewelry in there, except for just some that I might buy for fun. But because I make it, I have that person buying beads in there or stones in there or whatever has the advantage of saying, well, how did you make that? Or I could show them how to make something. I can show them what I did with certain beads and other components. And something they wouldn't have thought of, and so it's an inspiration.
It's an inspiration.
It is. People get inspired. I get inspired. I look at other things and get inspired, and
I get inspired
something.
just walking into the shop. And it's like, most of this is not for me, but I appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's like,
sure, yeah.
You do not have a lot of things for men, which is, that's just not your specialty. I mean, the gifts maybe, and records and books.
it's true that it's mostly a woman's boutique, but I think because, today things are real different. Like just anybody can buy whatever they feel,
right,
whatever they choose, and that's how it's going. And so that's
and men always need to buy gifts for women.
And men
yes,
always
we do.
Yeah.
We absolutely do.
All
We
the
don't do
time.
enough of it. It's
And you don't need an occasion.
I know. And this is a good reminder for me too, that I'm like, I need to go in and shop more and do these things and buy nice things for people I love.
Imagine the look on their face when you give them something from Dear Prudence.
When they're not expecting it.
Yeah.
I know. I'm so excited.
Oh.
It's such a good look.
Right? Truly is. So your website, where can people find you?
Well, we do have a website that you can purchase some jewelry. It's at dearprudenceshop.com.
Okay.
It doesn't have everything we have in the store, just some things, but it's pretty chock-a-block right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you can find us on Facebook.
Dear Prudence,
Orlando.
All right.
And on Instagram, Dear Prudence Orlando. So, yeah, we're all over it. We're all over the internet.
That's
You
so
might
cool.
even read some old stuff about us because, once it's on the internet, it's always on the internet.
I know. It's like the curse and the blessing, right? And you guys do a lot of events, right? I know you do the Pop Swap and Vintage Valentine. Spring Fling was...
Yeah.
We just had that, and Galentine's and the Sip and Strolls.
Mm-hmm.
How does that factor into, your getting people in the store for the first time, and how does that go?
Well, I mean, definitely get first-timers from those. Whether you see them again or not, we're not sure.
Sure.
We do remember some people, but
Yeah.
it does
pretty good
definitely
retention,
helps get the
actually.
word out there.
Yeah.
But those events can be tremendous. I mean, just in general, getting people out to that area. And because a lot of the times we'll hear people say they had no idea this place was here, like the entire strip malls, both of them, And even now, people will tell me they didn't even know about the East End Market, which, it's been there for, I don't know how many years now.
Yeah, I think people are still discovering
Right.
this whole side of town.
Well, you think about, you zoom out and like the greater Orlando covers such a massive expanse of land. And this is just one little microcosm. And it's like, when you're in it, you're just kind of like, there's so much here,
Yeah.
and you don't realize how small it is in comparison to Orlando, as in general. So people that come here are like, oh, this is like, it's kind of tucked away. And, unless you're passing through from Mills to Colonial, or if you're going to Lou Gardens, or, if you live in Winter Park and you're trying to get to Orlando or Baldwin Park, it's kind of like, we're a connector neighborhood, but we are becoming a destination neighborhood finally, just because of things like East End and, Red Light and it...
Well, let me tell you, Michael, it's taking a really long time because I still have people to this day who have lived in the neighborhood for years and years and ask me how long we've been there.
Right.
When I say 22 years, they just about fall over. But they're shocked. They the look on their face is shocked because and I don't know if it goes for the rest of the neighborhood, but, they will say, oh, I had no idea you were even here,
Yeah.
Didn't know about you guys.
Well, you're a hidden gem, hidden in plain sight. It's like you're just
people who
right
live across
there.
the street.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I guess, people are just kind of less accustomed to, they're essentially plazas, but, people are kind of the strip mall thing. People just kind of go into the shop that they want to go into and then they leave.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you stroll the plazas here, you're going to end up stopping in every shop. And that's kind of the idea behind, the events that we host in Audubon Park is like bringing people to the neighborhood for the first time. You're going to get a lot of repeat customers just because they're like, oh, I have an awareness of this now and like had a really great day, and like there's cool stuff there.
It's true. It does do that.
That's
The
good
events,
advice.
right.
You really do need to stroll the neighborhood.
Right.
Because the way the strip malls are set up, it is difficult to see everything from the road, especially when you're driving by, at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, park, walk from one end to the other, and you'll find something really great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that the Main Street organization is going to be working on is kind of like a scavenger hunt that is permanently part of the district. So, people will have to go to different parts of the plazas to complete the scavenger hunt. So that'll be a really fun thing.
Well, yeah, that makes people go
that sounds
find
great.
stores.
We love the wine walks. They're great for us.
Yeah, they're fun. They're great.
They're really fun to do. So it's those are good little events.
They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we love that you always participate.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's really meaningful.
We told Jen a long time ago, anytime you do it, don't even ask us. We're
Just
already
in.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the way to be. I mean,
right.
it really does.
And it goes pretty much for any event in the neighborhood. Just let us know the date and we're there.
Yeah. I mean, we thrive as a community. And it takes, it takes all of us. It's not just one shop. It really is all of us. And you guys you're doing amazing stuff.
Oh, thanks. Well, I think that we're getting some really amazing stores in that area.
It's a great community. So we're just lucky to be there.
Yeah, it's definitely changed, like I say, since we moved in. I mean, from nothing, it was like a dusty old road to it's really bustling and
now we have red light and Park Ave CDs and they're lovely and
Anchor stores.
So many other cool things.
Exactly.
It's really incredible.
Exactly. So. Yeah. This neighborhood's amazing, which is
truly
why I wanted to do this podcast, is get the word out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for your time.
Oh,
it was really nice talking to you, and
thank you, Michael.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Hello APGD, a neighborhood podcast, is brought to you in part by Stardust Video and Coffee, Audubon Park's beloved neighborhood cafe, bakery, bar, and meeting place, located at 1842 East Winter Park Road. We are also sponsored by Red Light Beer Parlor and Brewery. Founded in 2005, Red Light is widely known as the source for world-class imports and microbrews, a wide selection of natural wines, plus award-winning beers brewed in-house. A full kitchen is in the works with an amazing menu by Chef Jess Tantalo, so stay tuned for that. Located at 2810 Corinne Drive, please check out Red Light for all things beer and wine, and soon food. Our theme song is by Christopher Pierce, and special thanks goes to Trey Hester for mixing the episode and for all of his help in making this podcast a reality. We do hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please click subscribe and leave a review if you'd like. We'll see you next time.